everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi there, I'm Sabrina Clarke and I love to upload lifestyle, college related, or basically anything else that comes to my mind and videos like that onto my channel. As you can probably tell from the title bar below, today's video is going to be about my favorite movies. Now this list is basically just the movies that I've been loving this past summer, most especially because I've had the opportunity to rediscover things that I loved when I was younger, or that my parents loved that I wasn't really allowed to watch because of the mature content, etc. So if you would like to see my top 5 favorite movies of the moment, then please keep watching. This first film that I want to talk about is in the category of comedy. It's incredibly funny and really witty and has an amazing cast. It stars some of the greatest people in the entire world, like George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts, and Matt Damon. And basically the premise of the film that I'm reading here off of my phone is Danny Ocean, played by George Clooney, wants to score the biggest heist in history. He combines an 11-member team, hence Ocean's 11, including Frank Catton, Rusty Ryan, and Linus Caldwell. Their target, the Bellagio, the Mirage, and the MGM Grand. All casinos owned by Terry Benedict. It's not going to be easy, as they plan to get in secretly and out with $150 million. So it's basically a heist movie, and there are 3 of them, Ocean's 11, 12, and 13, and they're just it's just an amazing, funny film with really great actors who present the work and the characters really well, and it's something that I've grown up with. My dad and my brother have loved the Ocean series, and I've basically taken to it, especially because now that I'm older, to understand the content a little bit more and appreciate the humor. It's so amazing, and it's directed by my favorite director in the entire world, Mr. Steven Soderbergh, so go check it out. And I'll also link all of these movies down below where you can find them on Amazon. If they're on Netflix, I'll state it, but I don't think many of them are on Netflix. And I have the DVD, or I watch them with like a premium subscription or something. So I'll link them down below so that you can check them out too. The next category that I have for films is drama. Now this movie that I want to talk about is incredibly complex and involves a lot of attention. So when you're watching it, it's now available on Netflix, but when you're watching it, you have to pay attention. And I suggest turning the volume up a little bit higher and putting on captions, because some characters mumble a little bit, or their accents are a little weird, or whatever. Their parlance is a little different, but it's so good, and it's The Big Short. It stars some of the most amazing actors again. Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, and Brad Pitt. Again, hello, because who doesn't love Brad Pitt? It's directed by Adam McKay, and they won an Academy Award, an Oscar for it, for the best writing in an adapted screenplay. So the film, I'll read you again the description off of IMDb, says, 4 denizens in the world of high finance predict the credit and housing bubble collapse in the mid-2000s and decide to take on the big banks for their greed and lack of foresight. So basically, the reason why I said it requires a lot of attention is because the film involves so much detail regarding finance and the housing market. And it's basically about the big stock market crash that happened in the States a few years ago, and how these 4 people, played by Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, and Christian Bale, all figured out that it was going to happen. It's basically spearheaded by the guy that Christian Bale plays, who's called Michael Burry. He essentially noticed the algorithm, or noticed the discrepancy in the housing market, and said, hey guys, we need to take action because the housing market is going to crash. And he predicted it and basically created like a small group of people to go against the banks and do what it is that they do. All the terminology is in the film, and it's also really amazing because it breaks what's called the fourth wall, which is basically me talking to the camera directly, because usually you'll see actors talk, obviously when in movies the camera is not, like the actors are not looking dead into the camera, and the thing that this film does is makes that connection and says, you know, do you understand what's going on? Do you get it? If not, here's Margot Robbie in a bathtub to explain to you whatever, which actually happens. Like Margot Robbie is like in a bubble bath and she explains a whole housing concept, and it's really cool what they do with it. It's on Netflix. I'll link it down below. Go check it out. The next category of film that I have is psychological thriller. Now I know that's incredibly confusing concept or title or genre, but it's basically a subgenre of thriller and drama, I think, but it's basically a movie that takes you on a wild ride and like makes you really think and whatever. But my favorite psychological thriller movie as of late is Side Effects. It is also directed by my favorite director, Steven Soderbergh, and it's about this woman. I don't want to be too... Okay, I'll read the description as I usually do and then give my like additional description of it. But it says, a young woman's world unravels when a drug prescribed by her psychiatrist has unexpected side effects. So that's what I thought it was about, right? You know, you're watching the film and she's like so very depressed and her husband has just gotten out of jail. And it stars Rooney Mara, Channing Tatum, Jude Law, and Catherine Zeta-Jones. And the Rooney Mara plays the main character, Emily Taylor, who is depressed, and her husband, played by Channing Tatum, has just gotten out of jail, and she's had to deal with like miscarrying a baby and like the scrutiny or the drama behind her husband being in jail and all of that. And she'd suffered with depression for a really, really long time, and she'd been on a drug that wasn't working for her. So she goes to a new psychiatrist, and he prescribes to her this new drug. And as soon as she takes the drug, it is a whirlwind of a movie. Like, you don't know what's happening. It's similar to the concept of Gone Girl. And here they're pinning all of these horrible side effects that cause her to do some really crazy things on her psychiatrist. Go watch the movie. It's not a spoiler, but it's a really big hint. Go watch the movie. It's so good. It's not on Netflix. Where did I watch it? Side Effects. I think I watched it on Stars. I'll link all of the movies on Amazon, and additionally, if they're on Netflix, I'll put them there too. This next category is basically kids movies that I've been loving recently. Now, I would put Inside Out in this category. Inside Out is so... Oh my god. I would put Inside Out, but I was walking down memory lane, and this is a movie that I've always loved as a kid. It used to scare me when I was younger and always made me jump, but it was so exciting and so interesting, and it was like a mystery, and it was based off of books that I'd loved when I was a kid, and I just had to put it here now because I'm incredibly appreciative of it right now. But it is a series of unfortunate events. Oh my god. Oh, so good. It's directed by Brad Silberling. I don't know who that is. But it stars Jim Carrey as Count Olaf, Jude Law as Lemony Snicket, aka the author of the book series and also the narrator of the film, Meryl Streep, Liam Aiken, Emily Browning, and then these twins played Sunny, the little sister. But it is such a cute little film based off of the books, and if you're not familiar with the books, it's a huge series. I suggest you go and watch them because they're really, really interesting. But the premise is when a massive fire kills their parents, 3 children, the Baudelaire orphans, are delivered to the custody of cousin and stage actor Count Olaf, played by Jim Carrey, who was secretly plotting to steal their parents' vast fortune. It's essentially that, these 3 kids who have just been orphaned. They go and live with their crazy, crazy uncle, and he's nuts. Cousin. He's nuts. Like, he's so strange, and I loved that they chose Jim Carrey to play him because he does it perfectly. And I just really enjoyed the film, and I highly suggest you go watch it. I assume it's not on any of those platforms, but I will check anyway. And finally, for my favorite category, action. Well, actually, arguably, I really do love psychological thrillers, but I always go for a good action movie whenever I'm bored. And this film never fails. Every time I'm bored, it's either Inception or this movie. And I swear to you, it is the best thing in the entire world. See, for psychological thriller, I could also say Inception, but anyway, we're moving past that. Inception is like my favorite film of all time at the moment. Even though Side Effects is really like kicking in there. So my favorite action film of right now and of the past few years basically is SKYFALL. I love spy movies. I've grown up with spies. When I was a little girl, I never was attached to princesses. I was never like, oh my god, I want to be Jasmine and Belle, and so I legitimately hated princesses. And I never had, like, I was into Barbies and whatever, but I always wanted to be a spy. And I think it was because of my older brother, because he was into action movies and my dad was into action movies and my mom loves action movies. Like, we're just all about action, pretty much. And so that just carried over into my life, into like my young adult life. And Skyfall is probably one of the best action films I have seen in a really, really long time. It came out in 2012. If you're not familiar with the concept, it's James Bond, played by Daniel Craig, and it's an amazing storyline. The basic premise is Bond's loyalty to M, played by Dame Judi Dench, is tested when her past comes back to haunt her. Whilst MI6 comes under attack, 007 must track down and destroy the threat, no matter how personal the cost. Oh my god. It is basically, oh, I can't even talk about it. I just get so overwhelmed. It is such a good film. Highly recommend. Daniel Craig, shirtless, fighting people, and amazing cars, and really great action sequences, and Javier Bardem. Duh. There's really not much else to say about that. So good. Go watch it. Linked below. That concludes today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up so that I know that you like these kinds of contented videos. And don't forget to give that beautiful big red button some love by clicking subscribe so that you get notified every time I upload a new video. If you want, leave me a comment giving me tips or your favorite movies or anything else you would like me to talk about. All of my contact information is down below. If you think that I'm on a social media platform, you can probably check using my handle, which is most always at Sabs or Clarke. And that's basically it. I will see you guys next time. Bye. I love you.